Hi and welcome to Thriver TV, the place to break free from narcissistic abuse with quantum tools and understanding. So today's Thriver TV episode is the third episode in regard to the series, Clearing the Susceptibility to Narcissists. And today's topic is about fixing people. And this is such an important topic because when narcissists are concerned, the more that we try to fix and control narcissists, the more we're going to end up being controlled by narcissists and then end up needing significant fixing ourselves when we've been broken down by trying to do that. And, you know, fixing people, often people have thought, well, you know, if I'm spiritual and I'm evolved and I'm pretty developed, well, isn't it my job to point out to people where they're unconscious and where they're not getting it and where they're acting in ways that aren't serving them or other people? And in my own life, in as far as narcissistic abuse, I was like any typical codependent, and especially because I was spiritual, I'd been doing self-development for a couple of decades, I've done all of this learning and reading, and I was a healer myself, and I thought it was my duty to point out to him where he was being childish or immature, or where he was acting out of wounds, and where he wasn't taking responsibility, or where he was lacking empathy or not looking at a bigger picture, and where he was stuck in his ego, and all of those sorts of things. And it didn't turn out well. It didn't turn out well at all. And it never does turn out well when we're trying to fix people, because there's only two possibilities that will really come out of that. And the first is that they might pretend, or we might feel like we've worn them down and we've argued them down to where they get it, and then they just capitulate. But really all they're doing is pretending to do what we want them to do and holding resentment. Or they might just absolutely up the ante and do the exact opposite out of spite for you trying to control them, because no human being, narcissist or otherwise, wants to be controlled by another human being. So this was big for a lot of us in narcissistic abuse, this urge, this compulsion to fix, to change what this other person is doing. And really, you know, we had a premise of, well, it's our duty and this is the right thing to do. But underneath all of that is an anxiety. And that anxiety is, if I don't fix and change what this person is doing, I can't be safe. I'm not safe. So we've got these feelings of powerlessness and helplessness, and it might be even literal panic about, I can't cope with what's happening right now. I certainly can't cope to where it might blow out to. So I'm going to try and ride this and hang on to this and be uber connected to this and involved in this, trying to monitor and control what's happening here. So why did we do that rather than detaching and leaving the relationship, or you know, leaving that person with their behavior? Why did we do that? The answer is really, really simple, because we're replaying a childhood program here. And childhood programs are all about our unresolved stuff and our anxieties and our fears and our traumas that are still wedged inside us, that are still have a life of their own. And these traumas were all about, we might have had a parent who was, say, alcoholic or an addict, or obsessive compulsive, and they had high levels of anxiety and they were always really nervous and unpredictable. Or it could have been someone who was a rager, or somebody that could fly off on a switch very, very quickly, and was a real threat to us as a child, our sense of love, approval and security. And somewhere unconsciously as a child, what we decided is, I'm going to try to keep my focus on this, and I'm going to try and be one step ahead to try and realize when these episodes are going to happen, so that I can be prepared, or I can navigate them, or I can offset them. And if a fire rages and explodes, I'm going to try and put it out, because my belief is that if I don't fix these people, if I don't stop them being crazy, well then I can't survive and I can't be safe. So this is what's happened with this hypervigilance and this hooking in, and it's a real drama with a narcissist. It's not good, because narcissists go off. They are a very fragile sense of self. The false self, the ego, which took over the true self, is a highly insecure entity that at any given moment can suffer an internal or an external trigger, which will throw a narcissist into a narcissistic injury, which is the resurfacing of the original wounds of not feeling enough and feeling defective and unworthy and not worthy of love, and bad and wrong and tainted, which is why the narcissist killed off their true self. So if that's triggered through a narcissistic injury, when the false self cracks, the narcissist can go from being, you know, we thought that in this moment of time it was stable and it was nice and everything was safe, and then all of a sudden the narcissist is off again on a narcissistic injury, and we're highly triggered into these over-energized childhood anxieties of, I've got to fix this, because if I can't fix this, I'm going to be annihilated. And that's what hooks us into it. And for those of you that played it out like I did, I remember there was times of 300 plus texts that I was texting, trying to fix and change and get him to grow up and get him to get it and get him to see my point of view. And, you know, and sometimes I would succeed in that. But then, as you know, the next day you would wake up and have a conversation. It was like you've never even done that 3 hours of trying to fix and convince somebody of something. And the truth is, it felt like trying to convince a 4 or 5 year old in an adult's body to get it. And really a 4 or 5 year old would get it easier than what a narcissist does, because the narcissist is terminally unconscious. They're incredibly damaged. Their psyches are so damaged. So fixing and changing does not work. And what we need to realize so much is that as children, it was a defense mechanism. It was a survival tactic. We were doing the best we could with the environment we had and with who we were. But as an adult, if we keep playing out trying to fix other adults rather than fixing ourselves, where it equals how to lose, and we keep stuck in the pain and the patterns with no way out. And what happened in narcissistic abuse is we thought that we were an adult, a mature adult, getting a wounded child in an adult's body to grow up. That's what we were trying to do. We were trying to force them to be responsible and to have morals and to have values and to be honest and to stop lying and all of those things. But really what we were doing was we were wounded children trying to force another wounded child in an adult's body to grow up, to be an adult, so this time we could feel loved and whole and safe. So it was, both of us were highly unconscious in this. And what we've been trying to do is we've been replaying the childhood wounds. And the childhood wounds go like this. If I can just fix you this time, mum or dad or whoever the person was, if I can just fix you this time, well then you won't be as crazy and as damaging, and this time I'll be loved, I'll feel whole, I'll be safe. That's what our unconscious is replaying here. But if we remain unconscious, we choose the people that represent the original wounds. We try, as a wounded child, to force them into being a parent or a caregiver. And we haven't realized that as an adult, the only person who can become that parent is ourselves to ourselves. And when we meet ourselves and when we partner ourselves, we'll grow ourselves up to be healthy adults that are solid and whole. And then we're going to be able to partner with partners at that level, which is an evolutionary conscious relationship, which means of course there are going to be wounds. There's always going to be wounds, but you have people being honest about them, taking responsibility for them, and also willing to meet and up-level themselves to take care of their side of the road, to come into a relationship as whole and as honest and as much in partnership as a partner as possible. But we can't have evolutionary partnerships until we are prepared to partner ourselves and do the work. So when we're trying to fix a narcissist, this is a high susceptibility to narcissistic abuse, because really what we're doing is we're coming from the belief systems that if I can fix the crazy person this time I'll be safe. So we're going to pick crazy people and we're going to try to fix them, and we're going to try and heal and up-level ourselves unconsciously that way, which never works. But what is really happening here is the whole evolutionary reason that the pain and what's coming up as a trauma for us is showing us that we've got to go inside and we've got to meet ourselves and we've got to heal these wounds and these traumas ourselves so that we can show up as a healthy adult who then can have detachment. And we have detachment, we can't do it as wounded children. We're going to do the survival program, which means we become unconscious, we lose, we're no longer sober, and we're just going to act out compulsions. But when we've healed and we've up-leveled, we have the ability to know that we are a source of love, approval, and security in our own body, and that it doesn't matter. That is a certainty, because we're generating that through our choices, through our decisions, through our alignments in life, and that is never reliant on a particular person meeting us at that level. People can choose and be whatever they want to choose and be, and that does not have to threaten our love, approval, and security, because we've got a world full of resources and people left to choose and align with. So we can detach, and we no longer have that anxiety and that compulsion. If I detach from you, oh my God, what's going to happen? What is going to happen? We don't have that anymore. We're secure in our bodies, and we say, this is what I'm choosing, this is what I'm aligning with, and you're either there or you're not. And this might be disappointing. I might have thought that we had so much potential together and so many commonalities, and you know, it could have been a gorgeous and amazing thing, but I'm seeing really crazy, unhealthy behavior where you are unraveling, you're not taking responsibility for it, you don't want to play team, you don't want to do partnership healthily on it, you don't want to evolve yourself, you don't want to look at your wounding, and this is not a match for me, because this is not the generation of an evolutionary relationship that I now have with myself and I'm generating with all of life. So I let you go. I let you go and be your own reality, and I choose my own. And if at any time, if you ever want to meet me at this reality and I can really believe you about that and you're really willing to take in responsibility, then I'll look at it. But until then, I won't. And I can't fix you. You need to fix yourself. Just like fixing you isn't going to fix me. I need to fix myself. I need to get aligned with my truth on this. And as children, we couldn't do that. We couldn't say to an alcoholic father, well, unless you go to AA and you're sober for 3 months and you're really dedicated on your self-healing, I'm not going to be in your life. We couldn't do that as a child. No, which was why we were hooked and why we were stuck in there. And we couldn't do that with a narcissistic parent either as a child, or a parent that was unpredictable, or a rager, or obsessive compulsive, or, you know, dangerous emotionally to be around. So this is all about healing now as an adult. And I really want to do an exercise with you. Let's do a little exercise together like we've done in the last 2 episodes. And this exercise is about really getting in touch with that childhood, that young or ancient, we're going to talk about that, the young anxiety, the previous anxiety. So I want you to think of a time, and with a narcissist would be a really good time to think of this, when you were trying to fix and change behavior, when you were lecturing, when you were prescribing. I want you to pull up that scene in your mind, and then I want you to feel into the anxiety, the compulsion that's behind it to try to change this person. And I want you to locate it in your body. Where do you feel it? Is it in your throat or your chest, your heart, your stomach. Is it in your solar plexus? Where do you feel it? Where do you feel that anxiety? Where do you feel that compulsion? And then I want you to ask it, how old is this part of me? And I want you to breathe and have your body open and really be prepared to listen. Don't try to conjure up logically an answer, such as this happened when I was 3, it must be that. What's your body telling you? What's the organic gut feeling or the flash or the intuition? Might be 2 or 5 or 7. Go for your younger age if you get a few ages and write it down in your journal. Okay, now you may struggle to get an age, or you may just have a feeling like, I've always had this. Like, oh, it just feels like it's always been there. And I want you to write down ancient, because the truth is, and epigenetics is showing us now, trauma victims give birth to trauma victims even if there's no trauma in the environment, because we pass on, and we had passed on to us emotional traumas through our DNA, through our energy field, through the composition that made us into human beings. So you may have had parents or forebears that also had this anxiety of, I've got to fix and change people, otherwise I'm not safe. Now for myself personally, so much of this was ancient in my DNA. It was a literal fear of annihilation if I didn't fix or change what that person was doing, that I'm going to die. And I know it is so the same for many people that are hooked into narcissists. I've worked with them. I've worked with so many people on this skirmish, as well as so many others. Okay, so you've got the age, and now I want you to just really go into it. And you're going to do this for a period of time. So really, you know, it's best to tap into this after watching this video, so that you can really give it the attention that it can have. And you're going to drop into it and you're going to ask this, what is this about? And this is where you've just got to trust and write what your subconscious, which is the vault of all information, is going to open up to you and release to you. And this is about recording it with fascination and openness and love and acceptance. And that way you're unraveling. You're making the unconscious trapped traumas that have been trapped in the darkness down in your cellars, playing out with life the matches to those traumas. You're releasing them into the light, which is dissolving and dissipating them and releasing their power over you. And it's also creating space for your true self to organically emerge within you, which is well-being, which is a solid, self-partnered adult container, which is the beginning of the generating of yourself as your own level of love, approval, and security, which can then generate more of that health with life and others. So this is how we start doing this process. So if you have really struggled like I did with fixing people, this is the hugest one for me so far, was that urge to have to fix him and fix it. So if you've struggled, I really want you to do this exercise, because it's just going to heal so much for you. And if you are enjoying these videos, I would love you to like and comment and subscribe, and please share to people in need. And if you haven't as yet, access my free resources where you can go even into a deeper understanding of all of this. You can do so by clicking the button that appears on this video. And I would love you to join me in my next 3 Keys to Thriving After Narcissistic Abuse teleclass, which goes for 3 hours, where together you get into some in-depth, really in-depth quantum healing practices to be able to meet, identify, and release these wounds out of your energy field once and for all. So I'd love you to join me in that. And you can do that by clicking the button that appears on this video as well. So that's it from me until the next video. So keep healing and keep smiling and keep thriving, because there's nothing else to do. Lots of love. Bye-bye.